tell me first a little bit about pre-war Poland, what it was like, where you lived, about your family.
Well, we were a family of four. I had a brother, and then later on, a little sister. And we lived a quite nice, quiet life, although the anti-Semitism was great. The Poles weren't that friendly to Jews, but we lived, and we made a living.
Where were you living in Poland? Where in Poland?
In Lodz, in the city of Lodz.
How old were you when the Nazis invaded Poland?
He was born 1914.
Yeah, 1914.
And they invaded 39, so about
1914. So
25 years old,
how many
right?
years was that?
Tell me about that day.
About what?
Tell me about the day the Nazis invaded Poland.
Well, at that time, it was right away started being difficult. We couldn't go, we couldn't ride a streetcar, we couldn't do anything that the Germans didn't permit. And it was difficult. We started having difficulties getting food. I don't know what else you want to know.
Tell me about the invasion. What do you remember about that?
I don't know. Well,
Tell him that you were in
I was in the army,
the
in the
army.
Polish army.
Oh, you were in the Polish army.
Yeah. But right after a few days, everything fell apart and we just...
How were you treated in the army as a Jewish soldier?
Where?
In Poland.
as a Jewish soldier.
Not good.
Even by the other Polish soldiers?
Well, it was more, yeah, always was a difficult that you can see they treated us different.
You lived in a ghetto. 1939, you were in the ghetto
Yes,
till about 1944.
yeah, and I was
No,
in,
no. First we were in Pabianic ghetto,
That's
and
right.
then they sent us
That's right. We were
to
in
Lodz ghetto.
Pabianice.
Okay.
Did I not write this down?
No, that's okay. I'm just lining up the dates and the camps. That's all you did.
We were in one
did
ghetto
fine.
till 42.
Were you together in the ghetto?
Mm-hmm.
You were. Tell me about the ghetto. What do you remember most?
It was hell. It wasn't good. There was no food. It was very, very small rations that they supplied, and we just had to go to get by with it.
And then they sent us to Lodz, 42.
How did you two know? How did you know Sally at the time?
How did I vote?
How did you know Sally at the time?
Well, we lived close by. And
You were neighbors and you were
yeah,
friends?
Yeah.
Not engaged yet to be married.
No, we just met
No,
in the
we-
ghetto.
You met in the ghetto.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, we were just, that's all what we could do is go for a walk and meet people this way. So that's what we did, and we met in Lodz and then in Pabianice.
First Pabianic, and then
Yeah,
they
in
sent us.
Lodz.
You said your strongest memories of the ghetto were the hunger and the fear. What were you most afraid of? You have to think back.
Well, they were catching people and sending them away to work camps. And we were always afraid of that. We were always hiding. But they had ways to find out where we are, and they found us.
From the ghetto, how long were you there in Lodz?
Till 44.
Till 1944. So you spent about 5 years in ghettos.
Then they sent us to
Well,
And you were sent to
in
Auschwitz.
both ghettos, in Lodz and in
yes,
Pabianice.
yes.
We had
Then-
two ghettos.
Then you were sent
And then
to...
later on, we were sent to Auschwitz and to Mauthausen and Ebensee. I was in 3 camps.
Tell me about, were you transported?
Did I what?
How were you transported to Auschwitz?
Cattle cars.
Tell me about that.
From Lodz to Auschwitz. How did you get to Auschwitz?
On closed train cars, kettle trains.
Tell me about that.
Well, a lot of people had a hard time being closed up that long, and
How long were you closed up for?
2 days.
Were you together at that time?
No, not on the.
You were separated by then. But both of you were in Auschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
So you were sent to Auschwitz first?
Yeah, first to Auschwitz, then from Auschwitz to Mauthausen. From Mauthausen, we were in Mauthausen quite a long time, and then they sent us from Mauthausen to Ebensee. That was already toward the end of the war.
What was your job in Auschwitz?
How
We
long
were
did you
carrying-
stay in Auschwitz, honey?
In Auschwitz, we didn't stay long, just a few days.
A few days. Okay.
But then in Mauthausen, we were carrying big bricks, big rocks, and it was a hard work.
What do you remember most about that experience in the camp?
Well, going up and down on those couple of hundred stairs and carrying these rocks, and then not without any food and without any water.
What did you know was happening at the time?
Didn't know a thing.
You didn't know a thing.
Didn't know a thing.
Where were your parents?
I didn't know.
When you were
They
separated?
they were separated much before we came into Lodge.
You were separated before the ghetto.
Yeah.
Did you ever
No,
see
not
them
before the ghetto.
before the
after
transport
the
to Auschwitz?
ghetto.
After the ghetto,
After the ghetto.
before Auschwitz.
Before Auschwitz.
What do you?
When I came to Auschwitz, they weren't there. They weren't.
Well,
I
they
couldn't- I
were
couldn't
sent
find
out
it. I
from
couldn't find it.
Lodz already.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know where they were sent to? Did you ever see them again?
No.
You had a sister?
So I have it at home, yeah.
You have 2 sisters?
One sister and a brother.
That's right.
A sister and a brother? What's your brother's name?
Salel.
Did they survive?
No.
Nobody survived.
No, that's right.
You're the only survivor of your family?
I'm the only one.
What do you think when you remember Mauthausen? Because that's where you spent the most time, correct?
Yes.
What do you remember the most there?
I remember when the day we came in, the guard who was standing on a tower opened fire, and we had around 6, 8 dead bodies in front of us. That I remember. And I knew the people that got killed because they lived in the ghetto with us.
What do you think kept you alive?
You did something for.
Yeah, well, you know, by trade, I'm a watchmaker. And that fellow, that Blockhälteste, you know what a Blockhälteste is? No, the guy who was in charge of all of us.
A German guy.
A German guy. And he gave me some work to do, to fix a watch, and that saved my life.
Your ability to fix a watch is what saved your life.
Not one watch. He had
Well,
quite
more
a
than
few.
one.
So you repaired watches for the guards.
For him. Hmm.
Do you think he kept you alive for that purpose?
He made profit on that. He didn't do it for free. He knew
So
what
he
he
gave
was
you
doing.
broken watches to fix?
Yes.
And
No.
then he profited on them.
Right.
Did he treat you any differently?
Yeah, he gave me an extra soup.
extra soup.
And it was a lot of millions of dollars worth it.
How long were you in Mauthausen?
In Mauthausen, I was,
We got there at the end of August, right?
5, 6 months.
End of August 44. And then they sent him from Mauthausen. How long have you been, were you at Mauthausen?
Mauthausen. Well, in Abendsee, we were a short time. In Mauthausen, I was maybe 6, 8 months.
And you were sent to
And where-
Austria.
No,
That's Austria. Mauthausen was in Austria.
You were. I'm sorry, not Austria.
To
You were sent
Ebensee,
the-
and
right, Ebensee.
it's Austria also, and we were liberated by the American Army. May 6th, right?
Tell me about May
45.
6th.
May 6th, a day before, we found out that they want to take us into, we were in the mountains, and they had a plan to take us into one of those. They were trying to get ready those mountains for
Use
factory-
explosive.
for factories, for military factories, for military stuff, and so we found that out, and we objected to going in those tunnels. They planned to dynamite the tunnels and kill everybody. So at that time, we didn't go in, and everybody was on the street, and those guys that were in charge of us were already worried themselves, so they ran away.
Because they knew the end is coming. That the
They knew already
Americans
that
were close by.
the guards left them, and they don't have any protection.
What was one of the first things you remember on liberation? Did you see the soldiers?
Oh, we remember that about 2 or 3 tanks came in the camp, and everybody was elated.
How soon were you able to eat?
Well, we got
Red Cross
some,
had
yeah.
food
got some
prepared
food.
after that.
I don't know how we got it. We
And
got it.
everybody got sick.
Yeah, everybody got sick. You were sent-
Typhoid.
Typhoid? Did you have typhoid?
Yeah, after the war, I was sick. I was in Gmunden in the hospital because I was.
Were you sent to a DP camp?
What is a DP
A
camp?
displaced persons camp? Or were you sent after
Concentration
liberation?
camp.
No, a displaced persons camp, or is it area?
No, we didn't.
You didn't do
we
that?
went back.
So you
to,
went straight to the hospital from
From the camp.
the camp straight to
Yeah,
the hospital.
yeah.
How long was your recovery?
Oh, maybe 3, 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks. What was going through your head during this time?
Nothing much. We just were waiting for the soup. The soup was the god. Everybody was waiting for the food. And that's all what we did. We couldn't do anything much. We couldn't talk, we couldn't speak, we couldn't have a newspaper, we couldn't have anything.
You think it was your ability to fix the watch is what kept you alive?
That saved my life.
What about faith? Did that play a role in that at all for you?
The what?
Faith? Any of your religious upbringing, did that play a role for you?
I
at all?
wasn't strictly religious, but I believed in it.
and hoped.
Anybody in the camp with you that you remember?
Not today. No, not today.
Well, you
Yeah.
had a nephew with you.
Yeah, well, he passed away.
He didn't make
He
it.
passed away.
How old was he?
He was maybe 13, 14 years old.
And he was murdered?
He was my nephew, and I was taking care of him as long as I could. But then after that, he passed away. He's still in the grave there in Mabensee.
So when you came out of the hospital, how soon before you saw Sally again?
Oh, that was quite some time because we had to come home to meet. We came home to Poland.
You returned to Poland after the
Yeah.
hospital?
Yes.
How'd you feel about Poland when you came back?
We felt so bad that we ran away to Germany pretty soon. We had a chance
To be able to emigrate.
to emigrate.
You went to Germany. What made you pick Germany?
Because that was the only place that was a way to get to the United States.
So you weren't there to live.
No.
You were
No.
just there to go through. Oh, okay. And then from there you went to the United States?
Yes.
Where's the first place you went?
To New York,
New York, and then where?
to Chicago.
Did you stay in Chicago?
Yes.
Is that for work?
I had an uncle in Chicago.
Okay, so you stayed working in Chicago?
And I wrote a letter to them, and I didn't know the address. So I wrote his name, and it was delivered.
You just wrote his name and
I
put
just wrote his
Chicago?
name and just described
His
a little bit
name.
the situation, and they delivered it.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
Is this
Oh, it
possible?
never happened today. Isn't that amazing?
They delivered
And
it.
so from there you came to Tennessee? What brought you to Tennessee? Sally.
She was
Sally's sister.
Your sister's
My
here.
sister
How
lived
long have
here.
you lived here?
Oh,
Since
yeah,
1954.
So you've been here quite a while. Almost 50 years.
That's right.
Wow. When people ask you about what happened, what do you say?
Nothing. We don't tell the story because it's too painful to tell the story. So we just keep it for ourselves. We didn't even tell the children.
We tried not to live with it all the time.
We didn't tell this to children.
Put
How
an
did you-
end to it, and we started a new life.
How did you keep the memories away?
We just didn't talk about it. We just didn't talk about it.
What's making you talk about it now?
You do.
Besides me grilling you, what's? I mean, we invited you to
I'm
come
not
out here.
comfortable.
We're
I'm not-
honored that you chose
I'm not
to.
comfortable with all these stories. I just am not. I don't know why not, but I am not. Some people like to tell the story.
They know how to tell the story.
They know how to talk.
But it's important to tell the story. We know that. For the future generation to know what happened.
I now am collecting books that describe the situation, what it was. I have a book now that describes the situation in Lodz, which was the city I was raised.
You feel like it was
So I
accurate?
gave it to my daughter and let her find out what I
Is this
didn't
the first
tell her.
time you're talking to your children about it?
After the last few years.
Some small talk, but nothing serious.
Nothing in details.
You feel okay talking about it today?
I never like to talk about it. We talk about it sometimes between ourselves because we understand each other, what happened.
Do you think that there are certain things you might do differently now as a result of your time during the war and in camps?
In what way?
Well, we have some survivors that keep extra food in garages, things like that, extra bottles of water, extra blankets
Where?
in their homes, and as a sense of feeling more at ease and comfortable. Do you think
You mean
have-
now after
Yeah,
the-
now? Oh no, not during the time.
Oh,
Now,
oh, oh.
do you think that there are certain things that you do that help you feel safer and more comfortable? No.
We feel very comfortable. Soon
Yeah.
as we came to this,
You see, we understand each other. You don't have to.
as
Yeah,
soon
do
as
Do you
we
think
came
part of your
here.
healing? Do you think part of your healing and ability to cope is that you have each other?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think so too. It's nice to be with somebody that you really don't have to talk to.
That's
and
right, that's right.
They just know. I think
We
I think
understand
that's a
each other,
blessing.
we know what we're talking
That's a
about, and we don't have to lay it out too much on the table, because we know what we're talking about.
Well, thank you very much. I know this was difficult and something you really didn't want to do,
You're welcome.
and it's an honor to have shared this with you.